Did it, did it, did it.
Is that our new
Did it,
intro?
did it.
That'd be a cool one. Is that Mario Brothers?
What's going on?
What's up, Jared?
We're here
We're here.
in the snow. We're not in the snow right now, but
Man, I remember being a kid and really all the way through my 30s telling people, oh, I don't mind the winter. It doesn't bother me. I don't know if it's just because we haven't had one in a while or what. The cold is killing me. The snow just sticking around and now being frozen solid is awful, and kind of done with it.
so I think there's something to be said there where everyone forgets that we live in New York and we had a bunch of mild winters over the last several years. So it's almost like we're spoiled with some of this warm weather and now we don't have it. So
I know Facebook's spoiled with the winters we've been having. You know, it was you only saw blacktop and like the curb to curb plowing in those snows that, you know, kind of snow overnight, and you wake up in the morning and it's already 35 degrees and it starts melting away. I think it's easy then, but I think we forgot when you get 8 inches plus of snow, you got snow. It's gonna be around a little while.
our bodies, I think, are starting to get acclimated, but in the morning it's single digits, which is crazy.
Now the bus stop is maybe that's part of my experience with the winter this year is I'm on the bus stop in the morning, and the last bunch of years it hasn't been the case. So maybe I just it's just the way my life is built now. The winter affects it more.
So what else is going on? We got Super Bowl coming up. Got a couple of Hall of Famers that are not going to be in the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah. Who knows what happened with that Belichick and Eli, but
I
whatever.
think Eli, there's a 50-50 kind of side of things where people say that he might not necessarily deserve it. He's definitely not a first ballot or even a second ballot, but who knows?
I don't know how that first ballot thing came up. To me, either you're a Hall of Famer or you're not. I don't know that it matters a lot whether it's first ballot or second ballot. Like, so are there voters sitting there saying this person's definitely a Hall of Famer? They should be in the Hall of Fame, but just not as a first ballot. I don't get it. You should just, if you have 10 guys that are eligible and 8 of them should be in the Hall of Fame, to me, you would just put all 8 in, and you know, next year you have a new crop. I don't get it.
Speaking of the Super Bowl, what do you think of the matchup? You got the Seahawks.
Who's in it?
The Seahawks and the Patriots, which I don't know. As far as ratings, I don't think that's the matchup NFL was hoping for before the end.
You got two coasts. I think they always do well when it's teams from the coast. So you got both coasts in the game.
And they're saying that it's the two quarterbacks are not necessarily a draw, like as far as watching them.
We got told it had to be Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes and all these, you know, out-of-world quarterbacks to get to the Super Bowl. And here you are with a guy who has bounced around the league from the Jets, which I don't think you could fault him for, and then what was it, Minnesota, and now Seattle. Who's not exactly making anybody excited as a quarterback. He's doing a good job, but he's still a guy that bounced around, and someone else is kind of new. So it might be possible. I think there's a lot of other teams in the NFL looking around. Hey, our slightly above average quarterback might be more than enough to get to a Super Bowl. It's not like we're stuck with this guy.
Well, it's something you said last time we were down here, where a lot of good programs and good football players, teams are running the ball and they're getting down to the basics. And again, it might not be the most exciting game, but you're starting to see some of these teams that build, you know, a team where everyone has roles and everyone's doing their roles and momentum hits at the right time, where you don't need that superstar to get to the Super Bowl.
You know, we talk about it a lot when it comes to the office and agents and their businesses. There's a book called Stretch, and the principle of Stretch is taking the resources you already have and getting more out of them, making it more efficient, making it, you know, building a system that fits the resources you have. And I think sports radio and fans have just had this idea that if you don't have one of the top 10 quarterbacks in the league, you're better off just kind of losing out and hoping to eventually draft one. And the reality is, most of the quarterbacks that get drafted won't pan out. And maybe this is a move back to, you know, more of a organizational build out where it's, hey, this is our quarterback, so what could we do to make ourselves as successful as possible? And teams aren't defending the run anymore as much, so maybe we could get a good running back, and that, you know, allows them to do some better stuff. So maybe we're seeing back to actually team building instead of just hoping for the number one receiver, the number one quarterback, and throw the ball around the field.
We had Bill Scavone on the Snapshot yesterday, and he talked about particularly college football in Indiana and what they were able to do, and what Nick Saban said in the past, where it's, you can't focus on the outcomes. You need to focus on the process. And if you believe in the process and you go in all in and follow the process, the outcome will happen. But if you just focus on the outcomes, you're not going to see those immediate results, and you're going to lose steam. Motivation is not the driving force that brings big outcomes. It's process, it's consistency, and it's following what you set yourself out to do, the plan.
Yeah, and Indiana did something amazing by getting to a national championship after, I think, the first ever. I mean, they're not a football school traditionally, but they also found a way to say, okay, this is the system we're in. How could we find some advantages? So I think they had the oldest roster in college football this year. So they found guys that, maybe wouldn't have ordinarily ended up there, and found a way to, some would say, game the system. And if you believe, some of the conspiracy theories, they hacked into someone's practice plan or something. But I think it's just a matter of really them using the resources they had, like you said, and finding ways to find competitive advantages within the system they had available to them.
They were talking about that on the Fan yesterday, where you had all these college athletes that already have a degree. They already graduated from
the
whatever
quarterbacks
schools they did. And they just go back to play sports. And I was thinking, how awesome would that be, just to go back to college and your job is to play sports?
With the whole NIL and all the changes in college, I think the system you're seeing is a lot of these kids realize, all right, I'm not going to get to a big top school right away. I have to go to kind of that mid-level, athletic school. You're certainly seeing this in basketball. The big programs recruit from those middle-level programs. So I think a lot of those kids are saying, you know what, let me get as much of my school done here at this kind of mid-level school, get as many classes as I can. So by the time I get to my senior year, my big year for NIL money and maybe draft opportunities, that I won't have to. All I could do is play basketball. So you have kids in college, whether it's football or basketball, whose only job now is to play that sport. They don't have any academic responsibilities, and they're getting paid millions and millions of dollars. So it's interesting what's happening. And basketball, I don't know if you follow much basketball, but I became a big St. John's fan over the last 2 years, basketball, mostly because my kids got into it.
And you went there.
I went there, but I didn't care about basketball then. And they weren't good until Pitino got there, which shows you when you have the right leader, it changes the whole program.
I remember you taking me to a game back in the day when you went there, and we were at the Garden, and we had almost courtside seats.
Oh, yeah,
student
seats.
It was empty. The Garden was completely
They were
empty.
$104 for season tickets per ticket, so I get 2 tickets, and I think I did that 2 years. Yeah, well, they were actually good then. They won the NIL. They were okay, but they were still kind of trading off the success they had previously. And then everybody, it just fell apart. Nobody cared. And then they bring Pitino in, and everybody cared again. But they were talking about, Pitino, the coach, was talking about they might have brought in a G League player. So G League is the minor league for the NBA, people that already got drafted. And eventually a school did bring one of those kids back, and the NCAA gave him another year of eligibility. So, and then coming out of COVID, they gave a lot of those kids extra time too. So it's a weird time.
Speaking of athletes kind of looking at colleges and bouncing around and getting on the portal and graduating and going, we kind of segue that into real estate firms. There's a million real estate firms. There's a million different structures of what these real estate firms offer. I recently heard from another agent their perception of legacy firms being dead. And at the same time, you have a lot of these, I'll say in quotes, cloud-based firms where you have two extremes. And I would imagine different people in different parts of their career might see value in some of them. But there's a middle ground too. And I think that's where we are, where we're completely cloud-based. I mean, everything is on a cloud. We have a integrated, AI platform where it's your personal branded website, your CRM, your lead generation. You could customize that website and have custom pages. Everything is kind of single sign-on. So we have all that cloud, but, moving over to a firm for tools, systems, resources, it's one of the worst mistakes you can make. And the same thing with college athletes. If you're just going to a program and not necessarily knowing who your leader is, who your coach is, who your staff is, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You need to know who's running the team, and you need to know who's running the firm.
That's a lot of where we are in college football right now is based on how those coaches would bounce around. So you'd sign on, hey, this is the organization I want to be part of. you'd play 1 year and then your coach would leave. The new coach comes in, and forget the fact that all these guys had contracts, but they just got to do whatever they wanted. The new coach comes in and says, "Oh, we're not gonna run the ball anymore." The running back's sitting there going, "What about me? What am I supposed to do?" And it's true with real estate. Obviously, the cloud-based idea it's kind of dumb. Everybody's cloud.
It's all cloud-based. Yeah.
It's all cloud-based. So these companies that their way of kind of standing out is, oh, we do our sales meetings on the internet and we have all our stuff in a drive. Yeah, who doesn't? If you're at a company that's not doing that stuff, then they're just not keeping up, which is why they'll say legacy is dead. Legacy is not dead. What does legacy mean? There's an office you can meet your client at, and there's a manager you could go to for help, and there's like a printer in the office that you could use. You don't have to go to the library to do your printing. That's stupid. But what you're really finding is some offices are still operating like it's 1997, and the world is very, very different. And some offices think, well, I'm just going to be all technology, and that's going to make me, that's going to be my competitive advantage. And they both forgot something. Focus on the clients. And in a lot of ways in real estate, when you're the manager, your agents are your clients too. Focus on your clients and your agents. Remove those hurdles. Remove those, struggle points from your agents. Do that for your clients. And nobody really cares if your, files are in a file cabinet or they're in a drive. But I got news for you. If they're not in both places, you're leaving some people behind.
Yeah, I call it gaps and friction. And every single agent, even very similar agents, have different gaps and different friction throughout their day. Some might be time, right? They have very limited time, so they need some of these tools to kind of leverage their time. Some might see struggles in lead generation. Some might see struggles in the marketing component to it or branding. So every agent is completely different. And the question is, could the firm I'm at help me get rid of some of those gaps and some of that friction, some of those points that I'm not necessarily good at? And if the answer is yes, then they're probably at the right spot. But if the answer is no, and they're not happy with the outcome they're getting right now, there's that old expression, no change, no change. If you're going to do the same thing, you can get the same results. So whatever that agent's particular friction is there another firm out there that can help alleviate that friction, get rid of it, where they can kind of get that momentum that they're looking for, get those outcomes they're looking for? And if the answer is this firm kind of fits me taking care of getting rid of those frictions, you're going to do a lot more business. You're going to be able to do a lot more activities. And I think that's where, if somebody's thinking about a change, that's where their mindset has to be. These are the struggles, or these are the things I need help with, or I want to get better at. Is there a firm out there that's going to help me with this? And if the answer is yes, then that's a good situation to be in.
It's all about the people running it, right? So I have a bone to pick with the industry over tools. Everybody, we have tools. So does the MLS. So does your association. And there's a ton of them in there. In fact, even if you're at an independent office that doesn't even have, anything but an internet connection, you have a lot of tools. So all the offices say we have tools. So does the other ones. The difference is, does the office use them? So if you go to your manager and say, hey, I want to do this, and I saw this tool on the MLS, or I saw this tool in our intranet. Yeah, I think that's in there. You play around with it. See if you can find how to use it. That agent's going to look at what might be the most successful person in the office, telling them I don't bother with it, and think, all right, that's not important. The office culture really has to be around what tools are being offered, that they're being used in a way that makes people money. Because agents are going to quickly look at, does this help me make money or enhance my life, possibly with freeing up some time, which is the same thing. And can I use it, right? So you need to have an office where the tools are being offered will actually help you make money. There's got to be a return on using that. And two, that I don't have to spend the next 6 months learning how to use it. I need somebody to just show me real quick, and then I'll move on with it. And that's a lot of what we do is the tools we offer to our agents, we use first, then bring it to everybody because we make sure it's something we know how to use. So when that agent says, how do I do this again, we can tell them. And two, that we see this is going to help agents make more money or spend less time doing it.
Some of the feedback we get is how accessible we are. And we're talking to Corey Stewart over in, where is he? Kansas City somewhere.
Yeah, it's Independence Park or something.
Anyway, so we were talking to Corey, and he was like, he was saying how the fact that there was multiple owners, and me and you, and we have a staff. The fact that there's multiple owners, there's people for accessibility to those owners for every situation you could be in, and the experience we have. I mean, it would be hard pressed to bring a situation to us where we wouldn't probably know exactly what to do.
Yeah. Well, we would always know what to do because of two things. One, although there are always going to be situations that are brand new, we've been through enough to know how something worked out that was quite similar. So we'll know what to do. And the other thing is, we're not people that do it for the agent per se. We do it with the agent. Too often, managers or brokers, they'll grab the file. All right, give me an hour, I'll have it taken care of. And they didn't learn how to do anything, so now they become really dependent on that manager. We're going to show you how to do it. We're going to help you do it, and we're going to set you up so you know how to do it.
Speaking of client first, right? All about giving the ultimate experience to that client and being client first, and the money will follow if you do that. What do you think some of the changes are that the client's looking for now that maybe wasn't necessarily so important to them 6-7 years ago?
I think agents, sellers are so confused by everything that in a lot of ways they don't want to know anything, or they want to know less.
They want to trust somebody and
just do it. You know what to do? Great. You handle it. I know I'm like that with the car. The mechanic starts explaining about your turbo doesn't work. I don't know how much I trust you. Just make the car work again. And I think for buyers, what they're really looking for more than anything is a general. It's such an awful experience to buy a house right now because of the lack of inventory that they know it's going to be a battle. It's going to be hard, and they want that general who, a big part of being a general is you have the strategy, you have a game plan to be successful. That's obviously the starting point, and that they could keep you motivated, keep your eye on the prize, because they're going to need that. You make 3 offers and none of them get accepted. You're going to need that person behind you to say, this is part of the process. This is how it's going to work. We're going to get the next one.
Speaking of generals, what crossed my mind was the fact that you're not, hindsight's always 20/20. You have all the information in the world after the fact. But generals and leaders and good agents, they take the information they have and they make decisions with the information they have, and as far as their business too, running their business, you don't necessarily know that this activity that I'm about to do is absolutely going to work. But you have to have the ability to say, I think it's going to work. I trust the process, and just go all in. Too many people get their ducks in a row, and then they, don't exactly like the formation, and then they get their ducks in a row again, and then again and again, and they never get started. So at the end of the day, you just got to go for it.
Did you ever go to the pet store, maybe with your kids, and buy a fish?
We're keeping the animal theme here.
I guess so. There's a fish tank, and there's like 100 goldfish in there or whatever, and they put the net in. And a lot of the fish are just kind of moving around. They don't know what to do. And there's always like 1 or 2 fish that are just super active in that tank. Which one do you hope ends up in that net? You want that fish that's super active, right? And what agents don't realize is by being super active, even if you're not always sure, is this going to lead to success? Is this going to get me more listings? Is this going to help me get the house sold? Being active, doing things like that goldfish, moving around the tank, it's attractive. Sellers, buyers, clients will be attracted to you because you're trying stuff, you're doing stuff. And I got news for you. Most of the agents out there are just doing the same thing, and a lot of it's in the background, so it's not visible. So be like that dumb goldfish bouncing around the tank, running around, swimming around, because all of that activity you're putting into, you're putting out there, it's going to attract more attention, and that's ultimately what you're going to need.
There's an expression, tech and tools are not the flex, it's the workflow. It doesn't matter what tools you have, you just got to do. And that's the real flex. That's where you see the results. That's where you're going to get the reward. That's where you're going to get the outcomes. But if you're too tied into, the shiny penny and the new tech and the new AI platform, and you're just consumed by all that stuff, and you're not doing those activities, you're not having conversations, you're not going to be happy with the outcome.
No. The big thing is kind of doing it all on purpose and having a plan and putting it in action. From there, you see where it takes you.
And you can make adjustments as you go, and you learn more on the job, right? They always said that, and some of these newer agents, the thing I tell them is put yourself in the position where you get some business and you don't know what to do, because you're going to learn real fast. We're going to walk you through it, and you learn more on the job. You learn more in doing it than reading about it, watching videos about it, and asking ChatGPT about it.
Yeah, yes, for sure. People are really good at smelling bullcrap, and if you're able to get listings or buyers that say, I want to work with you, that means you probably are more competent and more ready to do this than even you might realize. They wouldn't have done that if they thought you were going to be, unable to help them. So go get that business, and if you're in a situation you don't know what to do, hopefully you're in a good office that can help you, guide you through it. If not, call us up. Whether you work here or not, we'll give you a hand.
Yeah, just to kind of wrap things up, one of the things I always tell, whether it's agents, sellers, buyers, if I had $1 for every time I said it, I would have quite a few dollars. But I tell them that this business is not overly hard. It's not overly difficult, which is weird to tell a seller that, right? But what I do tell them is everything that I just said that I'm going to do, I'm actually going to do. And I think that goes a long way. Just whatever you say you do, whatever's in your business plan, whatever commitments you made to yourself, just do them. If you do only that, you're going to get results.
Well, I think you said it. It's about 50 degrees down here in the podcast studio today, so I think we're just about done. Tell me anything you've been doing lately that's fun, any good restaurants, any good places to try?
Good restaurants. No, I've been eating at home a lot. I've been cooking. What's the last restaurant I went to? That's a good question. Burger King.
Burger King.
We were at a media day for my kids' lacrosse, and it was...
Which is just picture day.
It was just picture day.
I don't know why we have to rename all this stuff.
It was not fun. The line was crazy long. During me waiting in line, one of the moms in front of me took a picture of their son, put in ChatGPT, I swear to God, and said something like, make it green with smoke coming out, and the picture looked awesome, completely awesome. But then afterwards, it was late, and we got Burger King.
Well, the Whopper, I am a fan of the Whopper, so I guess that's good. Me and Steph, my wife, we went to Bacara recently on Park Boulevard, so that was real good. Food's great there.
Did you get the chicken parm?
No, we got like a bunch of apps.
Yeah, chicken parm's the best. Did you get the fried galamad?
We got the fried galamad.
The mixed ones with the...
No.
No?
No. I'll make a list for next time.
All right, what else? Patriots or Seahawks? What's the spread? What are we doing here?
I don't know anything about that, but I'm rooting for the Seahawks. How about you?
Yeah, I'll go Seahawks by 3.
Screw Boston.
A lot of people said it's way too early for them to be good again.
No,
I agree.
They are, unfortunately, but screw them.
Yep. All right.
All right. Talk to you soon.